This video starts with angle side angle congruency. If two angles in the included side in one triangle are congruent to two angles in the included side in another triangle, the two triangles are congruent. So here in this picture, we have two corresponding angles in both triangles, and we have the side that is included between those angles. So that is angle side angle congruency. So let's look at example 1. In example 1, it says, which of the following pieces of information do you need to prove that these triangles are congruent using ASA? Well, in both of these triangles, we have two angles. So what is needed is the side included between those two angles. So that is AC is congruent to UV. Okay, so let's scroll down to the next one, and we're going to look at example 2, and it's asking us to write a proof. Now they've written the proof for us, but the most important thing here to see is what two triangles are we talking about. So in this picture, we have this triangle. Okay, I could try and draw that over here. That's triangle ABE. And then the second triangle is this triangle right here, which is ACF, I believe. Okay? And we want to prove that those are congruent triangles. Well, we see that angle C is congruent to angle E. So in this picture, that's this one and this one. Or I could go over here, and that is E and C. So these angles are congruent. They also tell us that AC is congruent to AE. So AC is this whole side right here, or this side, and it's congruent to AE, which is this side, okay, or over here. So now what we have marked is we have an angle and a side, and so if we want to prove that ACF is congruent, well, we can mark, we need to mark another angle, okay, if we want to use angle side angle. And we look, and it's like, what do we know? Well, if you look at the original picture, we'll see that this angle right here, which is angle A, is the same angle in both triangles. So here, it's right here, and it's right here, but if we look at the picture, it's the same angle. So we can use the reflexive property to say it's congruent to itself, and now we have proven that the two triangles are congruent by angle side angle. Okay. Now we have angle side congruency. All right, in this one we do have an angle side congruency. So it says, if you read here, it's a variation on angle side angle, because anytime you have two angles congruent to two other angles, well, the third angle has to be congruent, because remember, all the angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So if we know that this one is 50 and that this one is 45, and over here if we have a 50 and a 45, we know the third angle has to be the same, because they both have to add up to 180. So let's see, this is 95, so that would make this one 85 and 85. Okay, so once you have two, so we can use either angle side angle or angle side. Alright, let's see. Example 3. What information do you need to prove that these two triangles are congruent? Well, to prove it by angle side angle, we have an angle and a side, well, we would need another angle, and it would have to be this one. And over here it would have to be this one. So we would have to have angle F congruent to angle, it's like that's a Q. Okay, or if we want to prove it by angle side, well, then we need something different. So if we're going to use angle side, we have to have this angle. So we'd have to have angle G congruent to angle P, and that gives us angle, angle, side. And then the last one, side, angle, side, well, let's see, side, angle, side. So we would need this side right here for side, angle, side, and this side right here. So EG congruent to PR. Okay, so that's the missing information used to prove they're congruent by one of 3 different rules. All right, let's see if I can. Example 4, can you prove that these are congruent? Well, if you look, we can see that in the first triangle, or this one right here, we have angle, angle, side, but this is 2 sides, 1 side, and an angle. And over here, it's 1 side, 2, an angle. Just I'm talking about the marks on it. So the sides that are marked in both of these are not the corresponding sides. So we cannot prove that these 2 triangles are congruent. All right, let's look at example 6. What information would you need to prove that these triangles are congruent using HL? Okay, we haven't talked about this yet, so let me go to the end of this video here, and we'll come back to this later. We're going to skip that and go right. Let's look at this right here, okay? We haven't mentioned angle, 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 or side, side angle, okay? Well, we have side, side angle. I usually write it this way so that y'all remember it. Angle, side, side. Okay, so those do not work. And in this picture, you can see why. Here, we have 3 congruent angles in both of these triangles, but they are obviously not the same size. So just having all 3 angles is not enough. So angle, angle, angle does not work. The same thing with angle, side, side. You can see in the picture that they've given us here where this also does not work. So just because we have 2 angles, 2 sides and an angle, we can see that those 2 triangles are not congruent. So it has to be, if we have 2 sides and an angle, the angle has to be the included angle. Okay, I think that's the end of this. Okay, so we'll stop here, and we're going to continue with these lessons for a few more days.